joined in New York by FS1 NBA analyst Chris Broussard. Good morning, Chris. When you look at what you're seeing from Zion, will he become a superstar in the NBA?
Zion, look, I've heard him compared to LeBron James. I think that's far too high of a ceiling or praise to give him. LeBron, you're talking about a top 5 player of all time. I don't think Zion becomes that. But I think he's like a new age Charles Barkley. He's Charles Barkley with the skills that you need to translate to today's NBA game. Skip, I think this kid has the tangibles, obviously athletically, and the intangibles to be a great player. I think he'll be a superstar and a franchise-changing player. First of all, let's go at his tangibles. Obviously, he's got the athleticism. He rebounds the basketball. He handles it pretty well. He passes pretty well. And in today's NBA, because the floor is so spread out, it's easier than ever to get into the paint. So I think he'll be able to get into the paint, and with his strength, his build, and his athleticism, I think he'll be able to finish over bigger players, even though he's only probably 6'6" tall. So I think he'll be fine in that regard. And then you look at his shot, which is the one criticism a lot of people would have of him. His shot isn't broken. I'm not saying he's a great outside shooter, but you look at his form, you look at his percentage, which is okay. He actually can shoot the ball fairly well. And when you look in the NBA today, Blake Griffin, even going back, a Jason Kidd, they developed into good three-point shooters. And if they can do it with shots that were far worse than Zion Williamson at this point, I'm convinced he'll be able to do it. That leads me to the intangibles. He's a hard worker. He plays defense. At this stage of most guys' careers, even LeBron didn't play defense early in his NBA career or in high school. So Zion has that. He hustles. He dives for the ball. Like, he's not one of these prima donnas that's just, playing, resting on his laurels and not hustling because he's such a great player, a great talent, and a guy that's going to go 1 or 2 in the NBA draft. So I think that combination of tangibles and those intangibles will lead him to work on his deficiencies, his jump shot. I'm convinced, Skip, that this guy not only will be the #1 pick, because I've yet to talk to an NBA executive who's told me he won't be the #1 pick, but I think he'll become a franchise-changing player. But I'm not putting him on LeBron's level, but he'll be a superstar.
So, Chris, here's my issue. I can't be completely sold on Zion Williamson being a dominating NBA player, being in that category of a LeBron or a KD or even a Harden or a Russ, even though obviously he plays a different position. The guy who will carry a franchise to multiple championships, in part because I haven't seen enough yet. And I'm going to warn you that this draft from top to bottom doesn't look very strong to me. It's strong at the very top, so it's top heavy, but top to bottom, all the way through the second round, I think this is a mediocre year at best in college basketball. So I'm going to warn everybody out there that obviously the second pick in the draft plays alongside Zion right now, R.J. Barrett at Duke. So does that help Zion? Does that mislead you a little bit? Because R.J. Barrett's really good. He's a slasher. He's got more of a scorer's mentality than Zion does. He's slightly above Zion in scoring average. He's taken a bunch more. I think he's taken 143 more shots than Zion has. Yeah. And he's leading the ACC in scoring, obviously. And not to mention that maybe the 4th or 5th pick in this draft plays for Duke in Cam Reddish, who hit a big shot to win the game at Florida State, a big 3. So he's turned into their closing clutch shooter. Not to mention that the best point guard in all of college basketball, to my eye, I'm just going on my eye test, plays for Duke. It's Trey Jones. So he is the guy setting up both those guys in the post, in the paint. And are we being slightly misled by that? Maybe so. So I'm here to say I'm already a little more sold on Kyler Murray being a star quarterback than I am on Zion at this point being a dominating NBA superstar, because I got to see Kyler in the Big 12 championship game against Texas at Jerry World. I got to see Kyler against Alabama in the national semifinal in the Orange Bowl. I saw it, and I bought it, and I believe in it, and I trust it. But I'm going to withhold a little bit today because I need to see a little bit more of Zion. Maybe, again, this is at Duke tonight. Carolina's at Duke, but they're going to play at Carolina on March the 9th. I'd like to see that game, see what happens. I'd like to see the ACC tourney. I'd like to see the NCAAs, especially the Final Four. If, in fact, Duke gets that far, I want to see the semifinal, and I want to see Zion in the final take over games. And I know this is a small sample size, but I've watched a lot of Duke this year. They did lose in the Maui Classic. This is way back in December. They lost to Gonzaga. Gonzaga's pretty good, but that was a weird game to me because it was a very close game late. And Zion did hit a big jumper, like a little mid-range soft jump shot, and he's as sensational a combination of power and touch as I've ever seen in college basketball so far, from what I've seen. Again, as far as power leaping goes, quick leaping, I've never seen anything like the combination of tonnage and lift that this kid has. And he's such a quick jumper, but he did make a little jump shot, and that tied the score. And then over the last minute, Zion didn't touch the basketball, and RJ just took the game over, but he didn't close the game because he took 5 shots in the last minute and missed all 5 of them. So RJ's got that dog in him. He's that killer. He's got that makeup. Just give me the ball and get out of my way. Zion's a sweet kid. He's a good kid. He's a great interview. He's great with the media. The stage is never too big for him. He never seems to feel any real pressure because he's got the LeBron syndrome going. Since he was 14, everybody saw him coming as the next it kid. And so he knows what that feels like. And yet, I don't know if that sweet personality translates in the NBA into that cold-blooded assassin. Is he that guy? I haven't seen that guy yet. I see all the tangibles. I'm not sure about the intangibles. And Chris, I'm not completely sold. Remember, we got tweener height going on. I'm pretty sure he won't measure above 6'6". So, again,
right, I'd agree.
Will the leaping take over that? Will it eclipse his height? Will it render it obsolete? It's sort of like Kyler Murray. He is so quick and so fast that 5'9" doesn't matter anymore because he can buy time. He can create throwing lanes. Well, can Zion overcome 6'6" in the NBA just because of his power leaping? Maybe, because Charles Barkley did in certain ways and could throw his weight around and create space under the basket. I'll give you all that. And Zion's about 285 maybe. So will he have a weight problem in the NBA? It seems like he's keeping his weight pretty much under control at Duke. Will the tonnage start to wear on his body? Because he is going way up and coming way down with 285 pounds worth of contact, on the floor, not to mention body contact. So I don't know how if he'll wear well in the NBA, how his durability will be. I like everything I see, but I haven't seen enough, and it leads me to my last point, which is the shot. It's okay, but it's not great. He's tried some threes. He's kind of backed off the threes, but he's taken he's made 14 this year out of 48. That's 29%. Can that get a little better? He doesn't have to shoot threes because Giannis doesn't shoot a lot of threes, obviously. But he probably at 6'6" needs to create a little more of a jump shot. Can he teach himself that the way Magic and Michael taught themselves to shoot? Maybe. But I haven't seen quite enough. And I'm still fearful that we're all getting a little too swept up in what works on social media, and that is highlights.
Yep.
Dunks, sensational dunks. If he enters the dunk contest next year, the NBA dunk contest, the All-Star weekend dunk contest, nobody else should enter because he's just going to win it going away. We should just watch him do 3 or 4 dunks and call it a night because he will immediately be the most sensational dunker in the league. Does all that add up to KD LeBron? I don't see that yet. I'm withholding that. I think we're all getting a little swept up in highlights as opposed to scoreboard. And again, he's playing on by far the best team right now, which could camouflage some of the weaknesses. So I'm waiting and seeing on this one, and I'm looking forward to tonight. This will be an interesting test.
It'll be interesting. You brought up KD, LeBron. Like, he's getting so much hype.
He is.
Like, usually, even the great young players, they get a, 4-year honeymoon period or so where as long as they establish themselves individually, they put up great numbers, they look like an all-star, they maybe make it a couple all-star teams early on and establish themselves as a superstar. That's all we want. We're not really looking at wins. LeBron didn't make the playoffs his first 2 years. You know, nobody held it against him. A few years ago, Karl Anthony Towns everybody loved him. Now, finally, you're starting to say, okay, is he going to start winning?
Yep.
You know, so I don't know if Zion with the extra hype, people will start saying he's got to win immediately. I don't see that. I don't see him going to Cleveland or New York if nobody else goes there and immediately making them a great team or a very good team. I don't think he's going to win in that situation right away, but I do think he'll establish himself individually as a great player.
Well, Chris, you bring up the hype, and you know how much tickets are going for? Today, check this morning, $3,600 to get in the door tonight. President Obama might be there.
Oh, good, but there aren't many seats to be had in that little arena.
Yeah, I mean, those are Super Bowl prices. The hype is real for this guy. All right.